بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, we will continue with Surah Al-Jathiya. بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وترى كل أمة جاثية, and it says, and you will see every ummah Jathiya. And Jathiya means bowing down, crouching down. So you will see all the people on Yawm al-Qiyamah, this is in reference to Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will be bowing down, crouching down. كل أمة تدعى إلى كتابها. Every people will be called to its book of accounts. And this is so beautiful, subhanallah, because on Yawm al-Qiyamah there's a beautiful hadith which describes Yawm al-Qiyamah, and on Yawm al-Qiyamah all of mankind will be raised. Every soul that lived will stand for account. But we as people are not individuals. We live in communities, we live in tribes, we live in cultures, in societies. So people will be, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, they will be called people by people, not individual by individual. As it says here, كل أمة تدعى إلى كتابها. So the people will be called. So and so people come forth. So and so people come forth. So we are members of a community. And what defines us as a people, as an ummah, is the things that we believed in, the culture we followed, our customs, our norms. So this is what would be described as an ummah, because in Yawm al-Qiyamah, this hadith, a very long hadith, it would take too long to go through it, but they would be asked, who did you worship? And they would be called to these things they worship, and they would be asked to follow. Ask your these gods or so and so that you worshipped. So people, what defines them is what they used to worship, and that defines their culture and their customs. So every people will be called by their, people will be called, the Yawm al-Qiyamah, people will be called by their ummah, and then they will be, each of them will be held accountable for what they believed in and what the culture that they followed and the gods that they worshipped. So we have to think now, subhanallah, we live now as people in Western, we are living as Muslims in a Western society. What is their ummah? They live in a post-religious era. How would Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah, think about this, how will Allah call them? Will they call them as Christians? Because on this Yawm al-Qiyamah, all people will be called, and at the end Allah will call the people of the book. But will these people be included as people of the book? Most of them, from my experience, don't ascribe themselves as Christians actually. When I meet someone who is actually a Christian, they will say, I'm a Christian. Now they will openly say, I'm a Christian. But most people will say, I'm not religious, I was christened, but I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, in God or Jesus or this sort of stuff. So how would they, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, how would they be called? What gods will they follow? And if you look to Western civilization, they have their gods, except of Allah. They say they don't worship in God, but their gods are people. Their gods are philosophers. They will follow people like Darwin. They will follow famous thinkers that were thinkers of the Renaissance and of the Enlightenment. And they would follow idols. We can see today that, subhanallah, they worship people, successful people, artists, singers, football players, as la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah wa na'udhu billahi min dhalik, as they are gods. So they have removed, they have taken away, they have stopped worshipping the one true God. But in replace of that, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, we still have, as insan, the need to worship. So instead of worshipping Allah, they started to worship humans. So maybe on Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah will call them and they will ask them, what are your gods? And they may start naming individuals. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. So we as Muslims living in Western civilization, we should be very careful as well, that we don't start to become influenced by people worship. We worship Allah alone and none other. We look to the Jews when they were taken to, they were influenced by the societies in which they lived. When they went to Babylon in Iraq, when they were taken there as captives, they started to follow the Babylonian culture and other cultures. So we have to, as Muslims living in another people's culture, on Yawm al-Qiyamah we should be very wary that subhanallah, Allah does not call us by these people, and we are hold on to our deen, and that we are called as come ummah of Muhammad, and that we are not ascribed to any other ummah. So we should not ascribe to them, obviously, na'udhu billah, in their things that they worship, but also try and stay away from those customs and cultures which is aligned to their culture. And we should hold firm to our beliefs and our pure Islamic culture. So we continue. بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كل أمة تدعى إلى كتابها اليوم تجزون ما كنتم تعملون. On this day, اليوم تجزون ما كنتم تعملون. On this day, you will be rewarded for the actions that you did. This is the true day of recompense. On this day, everything that we did will be rewarded, either good or bad. In the dunya, you may do so much bad and you may get away with it, or you may be doing a lot of good, but you may not see it, the true benefits of your good actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, you will get your true reward. And this is the day that all of mankind will stand before their Lord and justice will be served. وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم.